In today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into Bills rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman. Now, unlike some of these other receivers I've recently covered, he wins in a different way. Much like with Rome Odunze, and some people don't like this about Rome Odunze, he doesn't win with sheer separation in the sense of routing someone up with agility per se. He wins with physicality. And now Rome Odunze is a little bit better at the agility aspect of the game, but in the end, we're going to take a look and see if it really matters how he wins or if he's winning anyways. And so watch till the end of this video to get a really good idea as to what we see from Keon Coleman and what we might be able to expect in the future. And so when we think about Keon Coleman, he's 6'3", 213 pounds. And so when we think about somebody with this frame and this build, they're more likely than not going to be an X wide receiver or potentially a big slot as well. Probably not going to be a flanker, but if they were somebody with, say, Rome Odunze's athleticism, they're reasonably comparable players in terms of their size. Rome can definitely be a little bit more of a flanker than Keon Coleman. And I say that because, well, Keon Coleman didn't do any of the agility drills, and there is a reason for that. He is not the most agile player. Does it matter? I personally don't think so. Now, he ran a 4.6 140-yard dash, which is only 27th percentile. But as many people will point out, he ran over 20 miles per hour in the gauntlet, and so his in-game speed really isn't reflected in his 40-yard dash time. But even with that 40-yard dash time, because he's 6'3", 213 pounds, that gives him a 63rd percentile speed score, which is height and weight adjusted speed. As you can also see, his burst score is tremendous. That's his vertical and broad jump. His catch radius isn't the best, but when we put all these things together, it's somebody that, in my opinion, would be best used as a big slot, but Keon Coleman is generally used as an X wide receiver. And does that work? We'll find out later. Looking at Keon Coleman, I took a look at weeks 1 through 17 and wide receivers with 47 plus targets, which was 85 total receivers. Keon Coleman in this time span ran 292 total routes in the time in which he played, which was 91.8% of the team routes. He did miss weeks 10 through 14, though. Looking at his usage, he plays 9.4% of his snaps in the slot and 90.3% out wide. You're going to see that he basically 90% of the time is an X wide receiver, but he does play a little less than 10% of the time in the slot. Looking at his yards per out run, his 1.8 is tied for 34th in the sample size, so above the median, so we do like that. Not tremendous, but definitely not poor. His PFF receiving grade of 69.1 is 52nd, so a little bit below the median. I do disagree with this PFF score a little bit. I think he is better than this score suggests as an overall receiver. Looking at his yak per reception, his 8.1 is third, though. He is very good after the catch, especially considering his size. He's not the agile, make you miss kind of guy. He is the you are going to have to try your best and get some help to bring me down type of receiver. Looking at his missed tackles forced, his 5 is tied for 42nd. So, there you go. It supports, obviously, that he's not really the make you miss kind of guy. His contested catches of 6 is tied for 58th. So not the best there. His targets of 47 is tied for last. That's why I chose 47 plus targets for the sample size. His receptions of 27 are tied for 82nd. His 525 yards are tied for 60th, and his 4 touchdowns are tied for 44th. Now, I will say with him missing weeks 10 through 14, that obviously is going to impact his total production here. Looking at his yards per target, his 12.5 rank first in the NFL. So he is getting targeted deep. Looking at his yards per reception, his 20.8 are 4th in the NFL. And so what we have here is a vertical X wide receiver based on his usage. Looking at his advanced stats from PFF, his PFF grade versus man of 72.1 is 48th in the NFL. I think he's a little bit better than that. I'm not somebody that just takes everything that PFF says and just takes it as pure fact. I do like to look at the film and see what it says. I don't think he's one of the best man-beating receivers by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think he's a little bit better than they think. His yards per out run versus man of 2.04 is 35th in the NFL. So all things considered, considering he was this raw prospect coming out, that's pretty good. His PFF grade versus zone of 64.4 is 63rd. I do think he's better against man than zone, so I do agree there, but I still think that he's a little bit better than they think. His yards per out run versus zone of 1.99 is tied for 31st, so definitely not bad by any means. His PFF grade on screens of 51.2 is tied for 89th. He's not the best follow your blockers kind of receiver. He's more so your X or big slot. Looking at his PFF grade in the slot, his 68.7 score is 75th. Once again, he's only played 9% of his snaps in the slot, so it's really not the biggest sample size. Looking at his first downs caught, his 19 are tied for 78th, but I will say missing a couple games is kind of suppressing that. We did see that his yards per target and yards per reception were really high among the league leaders or leading the league. And so if he had played more, I think that number would be quite a bit higher. Now, he does not get separation in the traditional way in terms of routing someone up with agility. But look, this is how it's going to work out. His target quality rating of 8.27 is first in the NFL. That's where, just like with Ladd McConkey, the video I made yesterday, having an elite quarterback really does help you out. But make no mistake, Keon Coleman still does help out Josh Allen, and you'll see that on film. So he receives very high quality targets, and according to this, the best in the NFL. His catchable target rate of 80% is 9th, so really good. Looking at his route win rate, his 38% is 95th. So I think something that goes into this is they look at separation in terms of wins. With him, he really can win regardless as to whether he's actually open or not. He can just outmuscle somebody. So I do think that's something to consider here, but I could potentially be wrong. That's my opinion, though. Looking at his target share, it isn't very good. His 12.9% is 75th. I will say missing some time is definitely a factor there, but he also hasn't established himself as the true number one dominant wide receiver in this receiver core, and them trading for Amari Cooper definitely does suggest that. But I do think that he can learn route running from Amari Cooper. His target rate of 15.7% is 90th, so not that great either. Looking at his contested catch rate, his 33.3% is 69th. You'll see some absolute moss catches, though, on film here. He does need to work on it. You'll see some where he isn't able to haul them in, so he could definitely stand to improve there. Looking at his fantasy points per route run, though, his 0.37 are 51st, but that's because he's not getting targeted as often. Look at his fantasy points per target. His 2.35 are 7th in the NFL. So when he actually gets targeted, he produces massive fantasy points. And so what we have here is somebody that the advanced stats don't necessarily say that he's performing that well, especially his PFF grades. And it does suggest that he is receiving amazing targets from Josh Allen. But what do we see on film? Let's take a look. Taking a look at week 1, we have Coleman at the top of your screen. He is going to be running a fade. This is a good example of him beating press. The Cardinals, it appears like they may be in a cover 2 man right now based on the alignment. It's actually going to be a match cover 3. And so while technically these two outside cornerbacks are in deep thirds, they're going to be acting in man coverage against the receivers in front of them. Then you're going to get a deep midfield safety with a robber underneath, along with your underneath coverage. And so on this play, Keon Coleman, as I'm sure you all know, isn't the quickest accelerator, but he is big and physical. And so he is going to separate at the catch point. And, you know, when you have Josh Allen, who can throw a pretty darn good ball, things like this are going to happen. And so I love how you see how he used his hands to wipe off the press. Right there. Shoves his hand away. No, thank you. I will get past you. Josh Allen's looking that way. Cocks his arm back. Keon Coleman is going to get physical with the cornerback here. And then he's going to push him just a little bit ahead while stopping so that he can be in front of the pass here. Asserts himself to get good positioning, and then comes down with it on the sideline. Good spatial awareness. Way to get his feet in. And yeah, unfortunately for Starling Thomas the fifth, that was a reception. And so yeah, you have a good example of him beating press coverage, being physical at the catch point, shoving away a defender, positioning himself along with spatial awareness. Good play. Looking at week 2, we have Keon Coleman right here. He is going to sell inside before pretending like he's running a sail route, and then he's going to sit. Now, Josh Allen is going to have to avoid the rush, and so he's going to scramble towards the right. Once Keon Coleman gets to this point, What he's going to do is try to win vertically downfield in scramble drill, which his instincts served him right. However, the Dolphins are going to be in a cover 3, and so you're going to have 3 deep third defenders with your underneath coverage, and then you have your flats. And so the cornerback is going to be behind him, so what he's going to do intelligently is stop going deep and head towards the sideline. Now, unfortunately, he's not going to win at the catch point here. It was good coverage by the cornerback here, but I really like that in scramble drill, he instinctively went vertically, and then when that wasn't going to be an option, turned around and went towards his quarterback to the sideline. And so you'll see right here. And now, look right here. He is waiting to be in the cornerback's blind spot while threatening vertically, and then stops. Good technique. However, as you can see on the left here, Josh Allen is going to have to avoid the rush. And so even though Keon Coleman was open, he wasn't really in a position to get his feet in order. And so Keon Coleman sees that he's in trouble, and so he's going to try to win vertically. Now, obviously, the cornerback is right there, so that's just not going to work. So he presses up against him, fights him a little bit, and heads towards the sideline. He's going to try to come back to this, but it is going to get knocked down. And so while it ended up being an incompletion, I really like the technique by Keon Coleman to try to get in his blind spot here before stopping. Then instinctively trying to win vertically in scramble drill. And then trying to come back and make himself an available target. And so yeah, incomplete pass, but for a rookie in his second game, and especially for somebody that was pegged as an incredibly raw player, that looks pretty good to me. Good stuff. Here in week 3, we have Keon Coleman right here. He is going to be running a crosser. You're going to get a crosser from this receiver as well. I believe that the Jaguars here are in a cover 3 match based on the way the cornerbacks are positioned here. Regardless, they're going to be acting in man coverage, so it really doesn't matter. And you're going to get a deep midfield safety here. And so Keon Coleman, once again, isn't the fastest off the line. He does take a second to get his speed going, but watch what he does here. And so he's going to initially get off the line, but then watch how he bumps into the cornerback on purpose before exploding to the right, creating just enough separation, and he's just fast enough to get into the end zone. And so while he does have his deficiencies in terms of his initial speed, and he's not overall the fastest long speed guy ever, he knows how to work around his deficiencies. And really, most players do have deficiencies to their game. And this is his 3rd game in the NFL, and he already knows how to win on routes like this where he just doesn't have the overt speed that some other receivers are blessed with. And so while he was, once again, quote, a raw player, he's not an unintelligent player. And right here, same game, we have Keon Coleman going in motion. You'll notice that 21, Christian Braswell, is following him. And so what that's going to indicate is man coverage. What we're going to get here from Keon Coleman is an out and up, and he's going to get a decent amount of separation. It's a pretty good route, honestly. And so like I said, we're going to get straight man coverage from the defense here, and you're going to get single high safety at the top. And so on this play, Keon Coleman does a relatively good job of selling this route and has a surprising amount of speed on this too. And so you'll see right here, turns his head around, and he's going to get the cornerback to bite, and then boom, bursts upfield, and has about a step on him too. Which, when you think about how far ahead he was, 4 yards ahead of him, for him to get a yard or a step or so of separation in front of him is pretty impressive. And so we'll take a look from the top. Yeah, man, he really worked on his route running over the course of the summer. Absolutely. And so you'll see that it's a touchdown to Khalil Shakir. So he didn't end up getting the ball here, but the route itself from Keon Coleman was really good. And here against Baltimore, we have our first negative play. Keon Coleman's lined up right here. He is going to fake an inside release before heading outwards for a fade. The Ravens are going to be in a cover 3, and so you'll have deep third defender, and deep third defender. Eddie Jackson, the middle field safety here, is not really going to be able to be part of this play, but he is going to head over here. But it's essentially going to be one-on-one coverage against Brandon Stevens. And so on this play, he really does fail to separate vertically, but because he is so big, he still presents Josh Allen with enough of a catch radius to fit this ball into him, but he is going to drop this. And so you'll see Sells inside, but Stevens doesn't really fall for it. And Stevens does have the speed to contend with Keon Coleman down the field. But Keon Coleman, one thing to praise him for is he does leave enough field for Josh Allen to fit this pass into. And so that is one pro. And you see that he is going to get his hands on Stevens and just make a little bit of a shove to create some separation. Then it's going to hit him in the hands, but he's going to drop it. And so, like I said, a negative play in the sense of he doesn't really create any vertical separation, which, isn't his specialty. He's a big guy that isn't the quickest separator. But I do like that he presents Josh Allen with enough space to fit this ball into him. And he does create late separation with a little bit of a shove. It's just, he drops it. So overall a negative play, but there still are some positives to it. And same game here. We have Keon Coleman at the top of your screen. He's going to be running a fade. The Ravens are going to be in a quarters or cover 4 coverage. And Brandon Stevens here is going to act in man coverage, even though he's technically a deep quarter on this side of the field. He's going to turn his back to the quarterback. Now, I am a Ravens fan, but I'm sorry, Brandon Stevens, you're just not capable of really stopping a really good route against a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver with a perfect ball from Josh Allen. And so what we're going to get here is a completion on a back shoulder fade. And so initially, pretty good coverage. There really isn't that much separation. But what Keon Coleman is going to do is just slow down, size up the pass, sky up for it, and then he's going to twist around so that Brandon Stevens can't knock the ball out while simultaneously getting both feet in. And there you go. Really good play from Keon Coleman. And once again, I'll say it a billion times in this video, he was pegged as an incredibly raw wide receiver with separation issues. And while he doesn't necessarily get you the most separation, in this specific scenario and in a lot of these plays, it really doesn't matter because a perfect pass is just generally going to beat good defense. And here we have another mistake by Keon Coleman. So this is an RPO where Keon Coleman is either blocking or running a slant. The other option is for James Cook up the middle here, and I'll show you how you know it's an RPO in a minute. As far as the Texans are concerned, you're going to get straight cover 1 man. And so Josh Allen looks at the box and decides that he thinks that Keon Coleman on the slant is the right option. But what we're going to see here is Josh Allen immediately deciding to throw this, but Keon Coleman isn't going to be looking for it. And so it's going to hit him. And as you can see, the line has started to block down the field here, and that's how you know it was an RPO. If it was a straight pass play, you wouldn't have anybody down the field. But like I said, rookie miscommunication, but almost a huge mistake, honestly. If the cornerback was able to get his hands on that pass, that's potentially a pick 6. Josh Allen's probably the only guy stopping that. And so just a rookie mistake, but and very fortunate for the Bills because that potentially could have been quite the costly one. But don't you worry, because Keon Coleman is going to absolutely make up for that mistake. He is running a curl right here. You are going to get straight cover 0 from the Texans here, and so you're going to have man coverage throughout with everybody but these 4 players blitzing. And so Keon Coleman is going to get this pass. He's going to spin out of a tackle and burst all the way down the field with some good blocking, I might add, especially from number 13, Mac Hollins. Very good play here. And so you see stops, shoves just a little bit to create some separation. Is facing, ready for the ball, gets it, directly moves to spin out of that tackle. Really good after the catch ability for somebody his size. Bursts down the field. Good block from Mac Hollins, as well as Dawson Knox down here. And he has just enough speed and a good enough angle to get this into the end zone. So we'll take that from the beginning. And so against cover 0, you want to separate immediately. pushes off, shrugs off the tackle, and has just enough speed with some really good blocking to get the angle down the sideline for a touchdown. And yeah, he throws that ball, and good for him. He more than made up for that previous mistake. If you like what you're hearing and seeing so far, feel free to like and subscribe. It's a free and easy way to support the channel, and I'd really appreciate it. Make sure you check out my other videos, including the ones on MHJ, BTJ, Neighbors, Lad McConkey, and so forth. I'm going to be creating videos on all the rookie wide receivers, the rookie running backs, the Brock Bowers, as well as all the quarterbacks that have played that are rookies. And so yeah, make sure you check those out. And then I'll be moving on to prospect profile videos for the 2025 NFL rookie class. So once again, if you like what you're seeing and hearing, just like and subscribe. Thanks. And here against the Titans, Keon Coleman is at the bottom of your screen. He is going to attempt to run an out. He's going to take an inside release. The press coverage here is going to be extremely physical. It should have been defensive holding because he is holding him well past 5 yards. Josh Allen is going to scramble to the left here. And so Keon Coleman's going to do what he should in scramble drill. He's going to work vertically down the field towards the sideline. He's going to leave enough space for Josh Allen to fit this ball into. He doesn't have a ton of separation until the very end, but watch how he does it. As far as the Titans are concerned, they are going to be in quarters or cover 4 coverage. And so you're going to have 4 deep quarter defenders. And so Keon Coleman is going to essentially be working one-on-one against Brownlee here. And so I'll show you what I mean. And so you'll see very physical coverage well past 5 yards. Right here, you have a defensive hold, but they're not going to call that. And so he isn't really able to get any separation. But he sees that Josh Allen is scrambling to the left. And so you'll see that he starts to work vertically downfield, despite being constantly held the entire play. And so you'll see right here, he is going to push just enough to create some separation. The pass is going to be a little bit ahead of him because he really couldn't get going because of the holding. But as far as his instincts, he was correct to work vertically downfield in scramble drill. And so even though the result is an incompletion, considering he was held the entire time, he did everything that he possibly could. And here, same game against the Titans. We're going to have another RPO, except this time, Keon Coleman is not going to make the same mistake we saw earlier. So just like before, he is going to be running a slant, and like before, it was an RPO where they potentially could run. You'll be able to tell because some of the offensive line here is going to get to the second level here in a minute. But as far as the coverage, you're going to get a cover 1 man by the Titans here. Now, Keon Coleman is not going to get pressed. He's going to beat the cornerback to the inside. And unfortunately for the Titans, the safety is going to creep up just a little bit, and watch what happens. And so this time, Keon Coleman is looking for the ball, gets it, spins out of the tackle, and now look at what you have. Wide open. He stumbles though, but he recovers. And watch what he does. He can feel this cornerback coming from behind him. And so he twists to the inside, and he doesn't have the, deep speed to take it to the crib here, but look at the play. Beats his guy, shrugs off the tackle, recovers from a stumble, feels the players around him, twists inside to gain extra yardage, and gets all the way down to about the 25-yard line. Really impressive stuff. And same game here. This play is both a positive and a negative in my opinion. So we have Keon Coleman right here running a fade. You're going to get cover 1 man by the Titans. And this middle field safety isn't really going to be part of the play here. It's Brownlee, the same guy who was holding him earlier in one-on-one, and he has physical coverage here too. And so Keon Coleman is going to run towards the front pylon. And you'll see right here, he is going to get both hands on Brownlee, but what he's not going to do is commit OPI. He is just going to use his hands as a shield, or his arms rather, create enough space for this ball to be fit in. And he's going to twist around so that Brownlee can't get the ball out. Perfect technique. However, he got 3 steps in, but apparently he didn't have enough control of the ball. So from the standpoint of, I guess, you wanted him to have control of the ball so it's a touchdown. But as far as everything else is concerned, this is perfect. He doesn't commit OPI. He creates just enough separation with his arms to fit this ball in, twists away so that it can't get knocked out. It's just that he apparently didn't, have full control of the ball throughout the whole catch. So positive and negative, but in my opinion, I would lean more so towards a positive. Okay, so against the Seahawks here, we have Keon Coleman running a fade. It's a difficult matchup because he is playing against Reek Woolen, who is 6'4" and incredibly fast with a good vertical and very physical. It's going to be one-on-one coverage here. And Reek Woolen is going to win here at the catch point. He's going to be able to get his hands in between the pass here. So I'll show what I mean. And so I like everything. He's going to get both of his arms in him. I think that it's potentially Reek gets a little bit of a pull here because Keon Coleman kind of falls backwards. It's a little bit hard to see, but regardless, he gets both hands on it technically, but it is going to end up being an incompletion because Reek Woolen is able to insert himself there. But after this, look at this. You'll see that Reek Woolen is going to, I'm not going to say exactly what I think he was saying here, but you'll see that he let him know about it. And so let's take a look at this next play. And so the next play, we have the exact same thing, except on the right side of the field. You're going to have a fade by Keon Coleman, and you're going to have straight one-on-one coverage against Reek Woolen. All right, Reek, let's keep that same energy after this one. And so, the exact same thing, except this time, he gets mossed. And so, yeah, Keon Coleman's going to let him have it. They weren't seriously mad with each other, talking, serious trash, but it was pretty funny that the next play, you got the exact same thing, except the completely opposite result. And so, props to both of them. It looked like a really good battle in this game against the Seahawks, but on this play, Keon Coleman did get the better of Reek Woolen. And on the final play we're going to take a look at here, we have Keon Coleman on the top of your screen. He's going to take an inside release before working vertically down the field. The Lions are going to be in a cover 3, and so you're going to have your 3 deep third defenders. There is going to be a dig route that grabs this middle field safety's attention, so he's going to bite below. And so what we're going to get from Josh Allen is a play action to the left. He's going to roll out to the right, evade a sack, and he is going to bomb it downfield to Keon Coleman. And so on this play, really isn't anything from Keon Coleman before the catch per se, except working downfield, remaining an option for Josh Allen. I'll show you what I mean though. And so you'll see that he really doesn't have anything right here at this point. Josh Allen just broke a sack. And so he's way down there. And because Josh Allen is Josh Allen, he's going to do Josh Allen things. Chuck this ball with perfect accuracy right into Keon Coleman's lap. Now, look at how much physicality Keon Coleman shows here. Look at the yards after catch. So he has one guy all over him, another guy on him, and he is still going. Goodness gracious, he is tough to bring down. And so, once again, he remains an option for Josh Allen in scramble drill, and boy, is he tough to fight to the ground. Goodness gracious. And so, yeah, another impressive play by Keon Coleman. And so with Keon Coleman, I think the film was a lot better than what we saw in terms of the advanced stats. We saw that he worked often with Josh Allen during scramble drill. We saw that he attacked leverage. We saw that he was very physical after the catch, broke tackles, was extremely difficult to bring down. We saw that even though he doesn't have necessarily the best get off the line of scrimmage compared to some of the rest of the players in the NFL, he had techniques to get around that, such as if you remember that crossing route where he bodied himself into the cornerback to create some separation when he turned to the right. And so despite not having per se the best physical attributes in terms of creating raw separation the way we generally think of separating, he has ways to get around that with sheer physicality. And it doesn't hurt to have Josh Allen throwing you the ball either, for sure. But I think both of them really do work well together. See, I mean, Josh Allen can have all the talent in the world, but if he's chucking it up deep to somebody and they don't have the ability to win contested catches vertically down the field, then it's just going to be an incompletion. So it is a bit of a two-way street here. We did see, though, that he had a couple drops here, and we did see that on that one RPO, he just had the ball hit him on the back of the head because he wasn't anticipating the slant. And so, rookies are going to make rookie mistakes, but overall, I really like what I've seen from him. And remember, before the season, they stated that they were going to use him as a vertical X wide receiver. I, for one, didn't really think that was the best way to utilize him. I still don't think it is. I think he would be better as a big slot because he doesn't separate as well as you would prefer out of your vertical X wide receiver. But he is able to win as the vertical X. We've seen it throughout the entire film there. And so I was completely wrong on that. He is winning at the NFL level as a vertical X. I think that it would be better for him in his production if they moved him around in terms of the slot and X a little bit more to even that out. But the results are pretty good in my opinion. But what do you think? Do you think that the Bills should continue to use him as a vertical X? Do you think they should move him into the slot a little bit more? Do you have any more concerns that maybe I didn't point out in this video? If so, let me know below in the comment section and let me know why. And once again, if you like what you've seen and heard, feel free to like and subscribe. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. Make sure to check out my other rookie videos that I've recently made, and stay tuned for the upcoming rookie videos. So once again, like and subscribe. Thanks.